Actually, in behaviors, I just remember now. Behavior here. There are behaviors. You can enable behaviors. So I could have done that, but it still would require a second. Maybe I should have done that. It still would require a second behavior. Like a sprinting behavior that like while you're moving, basically it would turn, while you're moving, this would disable. Wait, that's not quite right. This would have the movement speed and the energy drain on it. So while you're not moving, this would be disabled. But when you start moving again, then this one would have enabled it. Sorry, I'm probably just confusing people. I should get back to how I actually did it, not how I possibly could have done it. So this one doesn't have the energy drain, but it does remove itself. If you run out of energy. The other way to remove sprint is to turn it off, which is, once again, back from the abilities, the stop sprinting ability, it uses the remove sprint effect, and that removes it as well. So, to get this, to get the secondary behavior thing, what I did was I made an initial effect to apply not sprinting. So that applies, that's an effect that applies the not sprinting behavior. And the not sprinting behavior basically does nothing except the not sprinting behavior basically does nothing. Looks like I forgot to turn this off, but since you're not moving, it doesn't matter. There we go. See, now it's no longer green. I was wondering why it was green, that's why I was checking it out. I copied it off the sprint behavior. So the not sprint behavior basically does nothing except remove itself. As soon as this not moving validator returns false. So when you start moving, it removes itself, and when it removes itself, it calls the final effect, which is apply sprinting. So as soon as you start moving again, it applies this sprinting behavior. So the sprinting behavior is what actually drains your energy when you're moving. So you go over here and I have it at minus 12 energy per second. That's all that does, except of course, it also removes itself once you're no longer moving. Remember, it may be kind of confusing. It's once the validator returns false is when it removes itself. So when it's not moving is when it removes itself, and then what it does is when it does get removed, it calls the final effect, which is applies the not sprinting behavior again. So it goes back and forth between those. And seem all good and stuff, but it's not quite. Actually, let's take a look at the validators real quick so you can just see exactly what they are. Because I told you what they are, but okay. So is moving is just a the comparison is not equal to the. It's a validator unit compare speed type, so it's just compares it not equal to 0, and that means as long as the movement speed is not equal to 0, it is moving. It's basically the same thing as for not moving, except it's just equal to 0. Unit speed's equal to 0. Yeah. Okay. So, that seems pretty good, except you got the problem of removing the secondary not sprinting / sprinting behaviors when you're done with this guy. So this guy, and applying them. This guy's, when you first apply the sprint behavior, that's the one that you actually apply with the button. The initial effect is to apply not sprinting. Actually, I think I already said that. So then it just goes back and forth between not sprinting and sprinting, whether you're moving or standing still. And the final effect, you need it to get rid of the other sprint behaviors. There's probably some way you could check to see which one you actually have on. But what I just have it do is I have it remove both of them. So it just removes both. If there's none on there, it doesn't do anything. So you have to get a set type of effect. What a set type of effect does, it just applies multiple effects. So as you can see here, we have one for removing sprinting and one for remove not sprinting. And so it's like, okay, that's good, but the problem would be then is if you remove those, then they would just call the final effect and put the other one on. So you kind of have this problem there. You have sort of that problem there that you can't really remove it quite that easily. So what you have to do is you go back to the behaviors and you go to the sprinting behavior, and for applying the behavior, you have to put a validator on that so that when this gets removed, like not from the movement validator one, but from like actually stopping the sprint, you have to have it so that it doesn't do this apply not sprinting effect thing. So under the apply not sprinting, you have to have a validator that the guy is still sprinting. Like he's still using the sprint ability. Because if the sprint ability is done, then you don't want it to swap over, kind of thing, because it's getting removed by the sprint ability. So you have to make a validator for that he is still using sprint, that's just a behavior count validator. You just make sure that he does have the sprint behavior on him. And so you put that for both the apply not sprinting and for the apply sprinting. You have to make sure he's still using sprint, and then you're basically finally good. There's a couple more things that go into making the sprint behavior, such as buttons. That's pretty simple stuff. I'll show you requirements really quickly though, because what you want it to do is you want it to hide the button for the sprint if all the guys you have are sprinting.
You want a piece of me, boy?
So if you have them all sprinting, you want the button to hide. But if only some of them are sprinting, like say these two are sprinting, you want the button to still show up. So you only want it to show up if they're all sprinting. You only want it to hide if they're all sprinting. And basically the same thing, but opposite for the stop sprinting button.
Sure.
If none of them are sprinting, you don't want the stop sprinting button there. And if all of them are sprinting, you obviously want the stop sprinting button there. And if some of them are sprinting, you want the stop sprinting button there. So that you can see these guys on the right are sprinting. But then you can turn it off, and it only